Hey y'all, let's take a little sip and have a little conversation about urban lit. Child, I need a, after what I just read, let's talk about it. What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome back to my channel. Yudi from It's a Wrap here. And we're doing something a little different. Still a book review, but a little bit I would consider a deeper dive. So in my past video, Romance Trope, if you guys have not seen it, skip to the end. I'll have it as one of the two suggested videos at the end of this video. I brought up a book that one, I questioned was even a romance. And two, I questioned was actually as good as I remembered it being. And also while I was editing that video, I realized that there was a movie that I had no clue about. So it also prompted me to watch the movie, and watching the movie prompted me to want to read this book more. And this book is Life by Leo Sullivan. I read this book probably like 2000. I was middle school, so it was like 2007, 2008. Wow, to think, yeah, that that was like over a decade ago. It's kind of crazy. But anyway, in the 2000s, I'm gonna say the late 90s, the 2000s period. The 2000s was really big in terms of urban lit. And I just remember being younger, especially like in middle school and into high school, that being the genre of book that people would sneak around and be all like, oh, do you read this by Quan and all those authors? The Coldest Winter Ever, like that is the epitome, the inception of the genre of urban lit. And it was a genre that I actually used to read a lot of, and now I wonder if those novels have aged well. And I was more curious after watching the movie. Like, after seeing that trailer and after watching the movie, I was like, this is not how I remember this book. Because that movie, I mean, apart from production being, Tubi production, the actual story within itself, I was like, I do not remember it being this much of a mess, and I don't remember it being as kind of cringe as I think of it now, at least watching the movie. So I decided to go back and read the book, and I just have a lot of commentary on the book, extending into the genre that may extend into me going back and reading other books within this series in urban lit and seeing if my opinions or thoughts that I have in this video stand in other reviews of past books that I read. So I think it's important, first, to let me give you guys the summary of what Life is about. So Life is by the writer Leo Sullivan, and the book was published in 2006. And Life is about this college student. Her name is, well, let me not start with, there's two main characters. There's Hope and there is Life. So a Life is a drug dealer, a small time drug dealer when they meet, and he's caught in this like sting. So he's on the run, and while he's on the run, he meets Hope, this college student that's studying to be a lawyer, and she's actually on her way back to college. And while running away from the police, Life convinces her to bring him along, on this long road trip back to her college campus. And in that trip, they, have this short, like, connection that is, I guess, could be considered them falling in love. But then they go their separate ways and they don't see each other again. And in that time, Hope becomes a lawyer for the state, and um, I forgot Life's name, and that's the name of the book. Life becomes this big kingpin, but he becomes this big kingpin, but ends up getting, when they meet again, he ends up getting caught by, by the feds, and and now they meet again in the courtroom after all these years, and there's still love for one another. So that's pretty much the story. Of course, there's a whole bunch of other stuff, drug dealing and all that stuff, because urban lit, but but that's pretty much the main story. So gosh, I can't believe this book was in the library back then. I got the book on Kindle, and now it's on Kindle Unlimited. So you don't even, if you have Kindle Unlimited, you don't have to pay for the book. So let me just talk a little bit about, like, I just wanted to talk about urban fiction of the 2000s, because I feel like it's like important. There is one video that I actually I'm going to link down below. There's this YouTuber, her name is Intellectual Media, and she did this really great video about urban lit back, was it 2 years ago? It was 2 or 3 years ago, when Sister Soldier came out with the sequel. Well, the third book, because I think it's The Coldest Winter Ever, and then there's Midnight, and then this book follows that, I guess, trilogy. And she came out with that book, and while it was kind of disappointing. I remember the reception being quite disappointing. I've actually never read Coldest Winter Ever, and I've been debating actually doing a series where I read like the quintessential like books that everybody's like, you should have, in Black literature, sorry y'all, in Black literature, quintessential books that everybody's all like, everybody has read this book that I haven't read, and Coldest Winter Ever is like the first one on that list. But anyway, she did she did a video on the um the Coldest Winter Ever, and just like the genre of urban lit, um, and like the history of it. And it's super interesting. I think it will really put this video into perspective, because I don't want to downplay like the audience that urban lit spoke to, and that genre of literature, and how like that market in terms of literature was missing until like in the 2000s that came along, and how it spoke to a group of readers that traditionally literature doesn't speak to. So yeah, and I think that's why, I don't know, life and also books within that genre, they have such a special place in my heart, because I just remember it not being like, back then, what was I reading? Like Meg Cobbett, probably like The Princess Diaries. I'm trying to think of other books that I read. I used to love Meg Cobbett. Does she still write? I used to love her. And even thinking when I was younger, it was like Judy Blume, and who wrote Junie B. Jones? Yeah, stuff like that. Like, I'm just, yeah, there wasn't this, the 2000s and urban lit period like was a special place in time, I think, for this genre. But yeah, I'll link her video down below so I can just give some perspective about the time and place of this novel, because I think the criticisms that she gave for The Coldest Winter Ever are definitely criticisms that I also have for when I went back and reread Life. It definitely rang true in that book as well. So yeah, again, I'll link it. So, I already knew, not that I already knew, it was interesting how different of a perspective, or how different of a reception I had of the book now, reading it in an age of, where there's a lot more dialogue, um, about, you know, blackness, black identity, and certain like terms like intersectionality, respectability, politics. So yeah, just in terms of like academic discussions about black identity being more accessible in this day and age than I think it was like in the 2000s when this book came out. Also, the internet and the way that we converse, you know, about these ideas in terms of like blackness and gender and all like all those things, like our conversation on these subjects is definitely more elevated than it was when this book came out in 2006. And who knows when Leo Sullivan actually even wrote this book in the first place, because I believe this book came, like, it was out before 2006. It's just it finally got published and circulated in 2006. So yeah, so that's why I'm like, let me give it some grace. So also Leo also gives himself some grace, because in the beginning of the book he has a note. I'm just going to read the note because it's short. It's a short note, and it definitely I don't know. I think it'll put my opinions after this into perspective, because as someone who read it back, to think that like I read that the same book, you know, it hasn't changed, it's the same book. To think I read that book back then and I enjoyed it so much, and now finding it so hard to get through this book and not cringe. Like there was points that I had to put down the book and be like, I don't know if I can finish this. Like it was that cringe. So okay, so for the note, the author regrets the vulgar and degrading language used to depict the characters in this book, especially those made in reference to Black women. However, he feels that it is a true and accurate account of the plight of Black life in terms of the vernacular and how urban, impoverished Black Americans view themselves. Unfortunately, the book may be viewed as socially incorrect by today's standards, thus tarnishing the rose-colored glasses that most of today's Black writers write from. The reality is, men abuse women, and like it or not, Black America is caught up in the yoke of severe AIDS epidemic. How can America be the richest, industrious nation in the world and yet choose to spend more money incarcerating young Black men than on the entire educational budget? Only by examining ourselves realistically within will we be able to find a viable solution to help ourselves. Since time immemorable, since time immemorable, someone has been determined to destroy us, humanity. Yeah, and then there's a quote from Malcolm X. And as I was reading the book, sorry, my face is so close because I just sat on the desk. As I was reading the book, I'm just gonna come back to the note because I can like the note doesn't even address my issue with the book. Leo was using these characters as a vessel to reiterate and send a message that I just don't agree with. I don't. I don't agree with it. Thank you for the note that because I was like, does he regret? Like, does he still feel the same way? As I was reading the book, that's what I was wondering. I was like, does Leo still feel the same way now? I didn't like Hope in the book. And I used to always think about Hope as a character that I like in a book. And when I went back and read Hope, I was all like, Hope is giving me Hotep adjacent. She's giving me the vessel of Dr. Umar. It was bad. It was bad. It was not, yeah. Like every sentence went back to the Black man. you know, I'm here for my black men. And it was in a way that was just like, Hotep is the only word that's coming into my mind. It's terrible. I'm just gonna insert this TikTok now because this is what I was getting from, like, this TikTok completely explains how I felt about Hope when I was reading it. So I'm just gonna insert it.
See, that's what they don't want you to know. Because the thing is, we were the original Irish. We were in Ireland years before we are the original Irish people. I'm telling you, the pubs, the beer, all that shit, we made that up. And the thing is, they trying to get Tory now. They trying to get Tory because they know we the original leprechauns. We the real leprechauns. We was leprechauns first. The golden end of the rainbow, that gold came from Africa. And the problem is, since they know that we the real leprechauns, they after our Lucky Charms. And that's what they want. See, they don't want you to know that. They don't want you to know that.
Like, that's how I felt. Like, she was that guy on the date that you're all like, when he come out like this, we done. It's not happening. And that was Hope. That was Hope. Like, when Hope gave the reason why she wanted to be a lawyer, and we also get like, she also talks about the relationship with her brother, and how was the white man's doing? It was the system. Which I'm not arguing. Like, yes, the system is predatory, it's anti-black. Like, yes, we can agree on that. But in the book, Hope is like, life is such a gentleman. He's such a gentleman to me. But that scene, the only scene that, like, in the beginning when Life and Hope sleep together, was the most cringe. And you would think that that would be in the note because it was definitely assault, and it was assault. That's it. Like, even if it turned to consent later, it was assault, and you can't undo it. You can't undo it. I can't undo it. That's when I wanted to drop the book. Hope did come in and she was like, why isn't this man attracted to me? I want to sleep with this man, and he was like, I don't want to kiss you, which is a whole nother thing. Like, why are you coming out to this man when this man says he doesn't want to kiss you? That's a whole nother thing. But it's the fact that after that, once he does come back and they are kissing and she realizes, I don't want to do it, Life got me on the same page. Like, but he's not. He's actively like gets like, it's described as like aggressive, like this type of like inner prowess that he is unable to control, therefore he cannot stop. Like, once we are in this moment, like, there is no going back. And it's like, no, yes, we can go back because I said no, and that's it, it's over. And it was just so cringe. It was so like, oh, we've come a long way, haven't we? We've come a long way, because this scene is like, it would be a no-go now. Just I wonder if he did get criticism about that scene now and like the future self, or maybe like when they were making the film, because the film is not filmed in that way at all. Like, there's actually really, like, there's significant changes in Hope's character that I think Hope as a character would not translate well into this film. Like, that film, I mean, as bad as it already is, it would have got eaten up. Because like I said, she a Hotep. I'm sorry. Like, that's all I gotta say. I keep bringing up the word patriarchy. Like, it was the way that she talks about her femininity and how her femininity is in service to a man. It was so off-putting. I'm not gonna lie. It put me off. Like, when she was cleaning them damn wings out the car and she was talking about, this is, I tapped into my womanhood. I tapped into my femininity, or, the innate nature of a woman. I was like, baby, I can't do this. And the end, granted, I remember, I don't know how I forgot this or how I read the end and thought to myself, this was a great ending or this was a great book. I'm not going to spoil it, but the end and what happens to Hope, Tyler Perry, just cruel. In the note to be all like, the AIDS epidemic is real, but there was some quotes or just like references to queer identity that was definitely like edging on homophobic. So and it was just like, what? What? You don't care about this AIDS epidemic? I mean, you do, but like, it was cringe. At the end of these videos now, I'm going to re-rate them. So it's important for me. Let me look at what I originally rated it. Here I'll hold the original rating, and here I'll put my new rating. So I originally rated this book 3 stars. So I didn't love it as much as I thought I did. I originally gave it 3 stars. So, but it stayed with me for so long. I don't think you guys understand how long this book stayed with me. And it has a 4.49, damn near 4.5 rating on Goodreads, which is like, that's not a good sign. Once you pass 4 stars, like, that means above average. And this has 560 ratings. And most people really enjoyed this book. Which is interesting. I actually looked up the reviews because I wanted to know if I would see any critiques. But I mean, there's people that read it like literally not that long ago, and they were like, I love this book. But if I had to go back, just give it one less star, a 2. So it goes from a 3 to a 2, just because if I can go in on sweatpants season, which wasn't even that bad, it was just giving for-profit feminism. You know what I'm saying? Like feminism on the sweatshirts. That's what sweatpants season was giving. Life is fundamentally like our politics don't align. The lessons that he wanted us to get at the end of the book, I was not receiving. Actually, I would give a rebuttal. So definitely like a 2. But was it entertaining? Did like there was twists and turns, you know. Everybody loves a good like American crime gangster type story, you know, Goodfellas, you know, classic. Godfather, like, you know, that's what life is, you know, in a nutshell, with a love story in it that's not really all that loving. Let me know if you guys have read Life in your commentary. Do you guys read urban lit? I still read urban lit from time to time. It's a lot better than what it was then. That's all I'm gonna say. Maybe some one of them hold true. Maybe I'll go back and read like a Quan story or something like that. But yeah, tell me if you guys read urban lit and that's your thing. Tell me if I should actually read some new ones and review them on this channel. And yeah, I'll see you in another video.